Welcome to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast, where insights, attitudes, and methods for success get illuminated. Learn what leaders and change workers have done and are doing now to create magnificent futures. We interview great guests who inspire you to overcome obstacles and achieve your goals. Be sure you visit our website at self-helpcoaching.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, just relax as you listen. You can do something else, but be ready to make an important note. And let's get started.
The title of this interview is You Can Have Exactly What You Want, the 3 steps to achieving any result. And my guest is Fran Banting. But before I go on about her biography, I will say, and this she initiated, she is a fellow Italian. Like me, I'm Tony Petroza. Well, my name is Petroza in American, but Italian it's Petrozza. But my fellow Italian, Fran Banting, her original name is Francesca Angela Barone. That's the Italian way to say it, Barone. But it's Fran Banting, and I am so looking forward to this interview. Fran and I were just discussing this. This interview is a year and a half in the making. We have attempted to do it that long ago. Well, we've had challenges on both sides, but we knew we wanted to do this, and here it is. It's wonderful. That's persistence. We both know the value and necessity of persistence, and the proof of it is this interview is happening, and there will be so much more revealed. I am so looking forward to this because I love what Fran is about. I don't say it in a narcissistic or redemptory way, but it's the same stuff that I'm about. Okay. So this is great stuff, all about personal development. And there are principles to this. These are not arbitrary things about personal development. These are principles that have been created and refined over the ages. And people like Fran and I have inherited it and put our own spin on it, which is what people should do. And that's not to say that we dilute it, is that we just add to it. That's what we do, right? Am I misspeaking, Fran, when I say that?
No, hi, Tony. It's so great to be here. And exactly, I agree with everything you're saying. You find your original way of explaining the way you see things and the way it worked for you. And that analogy, speaks to different people. So the more you can authenticate it with your own spin, the more people you can reach. So I agree 100%.
Absolutely, of course. So let me say what we'll be speaking about. We'll be talking about new businesses, especially as the world is adjusting with COVID. New entrepreneurs are popping up online with their home-based businesses. With this, it is important to understand that the right mindset is what starts and keeps a business growing. So let me tell you about Fran, and she has a wonderful background. She is a self-leadership and business growth consultant. She works with small business owners, entrepreneurs wanting to grow themselves, their businesses, and their profits by changing just one thing. Let me see if you can guess what it is, listener. It's if you thought the way they think, you thought correctly. The way they think is the answer. That's the solution. Fran has been studying human behavior, personalities, and the mind for over 25 years. Though quite frankly, everyone's listening. If you have a chance, go over YouTube, take a look. She doesn't look like she's been studying it for 25 years. And I say that quite professionally and respectfully. She has a master's degree in metaphysics and a doctorate degree in philosophy. I love this combination, Fran. I am a student of philosophy. Right now, I'm studying the Meditations by Aurelius, and my protege and I are creating a course based on it, derived directly from it, made so that the modern person can understand it. Because if you look at his writings, you'd be like, what? Right? Well, good thing. It was written 1800 years ago. But That's wonderful. A doctorate degree in philosophy. I love it. So she specializes in holistic life coaching. I love that. Yeah. She is also a certified thinking into results facilitator with Bob Proctor. You may have heard of him, who you may know from the movie The Secret, and he's done a lot more than that, let me tell you. So that's a great association you have there. In 2015, listen to this, listeners, she wrote a best-selling book called Your Life as a Movie, Scripting and Producing Your Dreams into Reality. That's the title in the H2. Let me tell you, when I read that, Fran, about you, I totally resonated. That speaks to me. I mean, I could have written your book and without having saw it, I could, because that's the way I see it. I see life as a movie, and not to look at it in any glib way, but to understand that you are the writer, the director, and the lead actor. The only question is, what are you going to make, a good movie or a bad movie?
Yeah.
That's the only question that
Exactly.
I see.
Are you going to show up to the movie? Yeah, it's great.
Absolutely. So about her book, it's that on the bestseller list next to Oprah Winfrey, Deepak Chopra, and Ekhardt Tolle, other great personal development authors. And we can include Fran. Tell you, if Fran wrote a book with that title, I'm going to include her in the list of great personal development self-help authors right off the bat. I'm sorry, giving myself license.
I won't fight you on that one.
In 2019, she released her online program, Scripting Your Results. And we're going to talk about that extensively.
Yeah.
And that takes you through step-by-step the process for results achievement and attracting everything you want and need in your life. Now, I give you quite an intro there. I really talked you up, Fran. This better be good.
Did I do all that? Those 25 years did add up, didn't they?
It adds up. Time marches on.
Yep.
Time marches on. The best thing to do is make good use of it, right? And it seems you have.
Well, I always say, you can't teach something you're not the product of. So I think that shows you that, I figured out how this works, and whatever I decide I want to do, whatever I set for that year, it happens, and anybody can do it. It's just whether you want to take it on or not. So I'm a product of the product, and I think my past proves that.
What I found in my experience, and I'm 57, I think I'm a lot older than you, that people, when you say things like, I figured out how it works, and show some sort of insight that is self-confident, a lot of people will react negatively to that. And I contend that the reason is because they haven't figured it out. And anyone who has the audacity to say such a thing, which may or may not be accurate, it's not received well. They're like, oh, you figured it out? Screw you. My life's a mess. Life sucks. And you have the audacity to say that you got to figure it out. And that's not to say you got to perfect it. Let me tell you, I was a personal development coach. I'm committed to self-help personal development. I'm failing upward. I fail mostly at what I do, but I'm still in the lead role of that movie, and I think it's a damn good movie because I have great ambitions.
Yes. Yeah, you can see it. But let me tell you about what you just said. There was no bigger skeptic than me. It took me years to listen to this information. You know how they say you have your heels in the sand because you're so stubborn? Yeah. I always say I had stilettos. I was the hardest person to convince. And that's what was my hump. But once I just allowed it, I'd let that wall down, boom, that's when it all happened. And it took years. It did take years, but I was one of those people.
Those walls.
So I know exactly what you're talking about.
That you just referred to, those walls. That's the thing, people. Those walls are, you could say that the walls are the problem. And what are those walls? The problem of keeping you from who the person you want to be is. That wall, the very wall that you've put up, right? Brick by brick, year after year. All right. That's the thing that's the obstacle to your own success. That very wall.
If I can throw in something there.
Please. That's why you're here, Fran.
Explain something. However strong that wall is, that's the part of your mind. That's the one that's holding up that wall and not letting the information in, is the same part of your mind that you need to use to achieve a goal. So if the stronger your wall, the stronger your ability to achieve your wall. So you should look at that and go, wow, how deep are my heels in the sand? That's how deep the ability I have to achieve that goal. And once I understood that, I thought, wow, I'm a pretty strong person. If I just flip this script to, instead of, heels in, heels out, and start walking the talk or walking the thought, as I say, everything changed.
Absolutely. And you can simplify that. That was a wonderful description. And you could simplify that. Like, say you're a sad person, okay, or a quote unquote negative feeling like this. Well, that tells you how happy you can be.
Absolutely.
That tells you
It's a
Exactly.
pendulum.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because that's the way it works. You can't
Way it
know
works.
good without the bad. And we're all we're I just said this on Facebook recently, and people reacted quite funny to it. I said, be careful of people who say they're good people. They're the most dangerous kind. And I didn't say that just to get the reaction. I mean that sincerely. I think that every single person is both good and bad. All right. And when you claim that you're good, then and think of yourself that way, then your guards to your badness, quote unquote, right? Your evilness, the problems that you create, you lose sight, that you lose your guard, you lose touch to that. So the point I'm making is humility, knowing that every person is capable of both good and bad. And to use the old Indian metaphor, now you're out there in Canadian BC, I know you got a lot of Indian lore. The Indian chief, Indian grandfather said to his son, when asked about good, he told his grandson about the good wolf, the white wolf that he used, and the bad wolf, the black wolf, and the grandson, well, which one is the stronger? And the grandfather said, it's the one you feed. It's the one you feed. So you got to feed the good side. That's the best you can, because that bad side's still there. It ain't leaving.
It's great. And I use the same analogy with gardening a lot, because I'm a huge gardener, and I say, you don't have to water weeds. You don't have to take care of weeds. The negative comes easily. It's the positive you have to tend to and plant the seeds and work on. The negative's always there. It's just gotta be positive.
When I decided to really commit to changing my life, I realized this about the weeds of my mind. I learned about it, realized it.
Yeah.
What an incredible endeavor.
Yeah.
And because my mind was so filled with weeds, which is to say negative thoughts and beliefs. And now I'm a recovered drug addict, right? I've been clean, sober 22 years, and now I could say that was that's when I really started walking the walk. Well, perhaps before, but let's just say that's definitive. And people who know me now say, I hear stories about how I used to be. Like, Tony, I can't imagine you that way, and because the way I used to be, and because they say I'm a very positive person, and I am a positive person, but that has only come from a commitment of weeding out these negative thoughts which infest my mind, right? And there's less and less of them, but and I still have to do it because
still to do the weeding,
right? Quite frankly, my nature is to be negative. I guess I developed that way to prevent myself, to safeguard myself from disappointment and sadness, and that's okay. That's fine. But, because today's the day.
It is, and you're doing great. Look at you now. Yeah, and upward and onwards.
Absolutely. So get rid of those weeds that grow in the garden of your mind. Fran and I are in total solidarity about that. I think everything else so far, and I don't see that changing, quite frankly.
No, good for
so
you.
Great stuff. So all right, the first question. Fran, what is the one thing that you believe is keeping people stuck from achieving a goal or a vision?
Oh, well, again, I'm going to say again, that same part of your mind that's keeping you stuck is the one that can take you to where you want to go. So I think that the biggest problem is that people don't believe that anything's possible for themselves, and it's their inner belief system. And I know it sounds corny, and I know it's, believe and all of this, placards everywhere, but you are designed to think a certain way, and you've been programmed to think a certain way. And it's gone back from the way we were raised and the way we were taught in school, and everybody was taught a different way because of their personalities, and they learned a different way. But how you heard something is different from how I heard something. It may not have affected you, but it may have crushed me. So we have to first understand that we all have this inner belief, and you cannot see, or you don't believe that you can achieve what it is you think it is that you want. And I love to tell this story because people say, well, I'm not programmed. I know myself perfectly well. And it's not that at all. And I am in control of me, and I know all of this. I mean, I get it, but I just want to say something. So if I was to say to you, you were at home and you're having your cereal and you're really excited about breakfast and you put your cereal in the bowl and you're out of milk. So you say, oh, I'm going to walk to the store. I'm going to go to the 7-Eleven. I'm going to go buy some milk. So you walk into the 7-Eleven and you have to go through, you know how they put the milk in the back? So that you walk through the entire store and you go past the chocolate bars, you go past chips, all this junk food, and you go all the way to the back and you get your milk. And then as you're walking to the till, you're just looking at the milk, thinking about your cereal. And you're thinking, I hope my debit card works, or, where's my money? And you're getting ready to pay. And you pay and you head home and you're all excited. You're now going to have that breakfast cereal. But I want to ask you if at any point from when you walked in that door, did you have to hold yourself back and say, don't steal that chocolate bar, don't grab those chips, don't put that stuff in your pocket? When you grabbed the milk, did
Well,
you
if you're me, yes.
run
No,
out? Yes.
no, of course I'm kidding.
But you're not thinking about stealing, right? Your thought was about the cereal, paying for it, and leaving. You never thought about stealing. You didn't go in there with the intention of stealing. And that's
Obviously, we're talking to the non-criminals.
non-criminal.
Okay. Right.
And my point is that you were raised when you were a small child, you would reach for that chocolate because they put it right where the kids could get it. And you reached for it, but somebody said, oh, no, you don't do that. That's stealing. You have to pay. And you were told that a few times till finally now you're an adult and you're aware that when you go in stores, you pay for things, but you don't think about it. You're just doing it, right? It's just society. It's just the way we were all raised. So how many things are you doing that you're not even aware you're doing? You're doing them subconsciously without thinking.
Absolutely.
And those are the things, if they're not in alignment with what it is you want to achieve, you can't even go there because you can't see it.
Absolutely.
You're
Absolutely.
programmed a certain way.
Absolutely. Now, if I may reiterate on that, that is the most basic possibility maker, is that you can believe, if you believe you can do it, well, maybe you can. If you believe you can't, you never, ever will. You won't even begin to try because of that. Doesn't matter what you say, what you believe is manifested by your actions every time. We can see it on your actions. We don't have to hear you listen to what you say. Us coaches, we don't listen too much. We watch everything, because there's the truth in everything. But yes, absolutely, all these nuances and all these, call them micro behaviors. We have 24 hours in a day, and that's the only time we have to do anything. And so what you do, so much of what we do in that day is in our subconscious. We don't even know what we're doing, but and that's still taking up the time, or it may even be getting in the way, right?
It's getting in the way. And imagine now I'm programmed not to steal, but somebody says to me, come on, we're stealing that chocolate bar. I'm going to start shaking. I'll be sweating because you're going against my belief. And that's that wall that goes up. I'm not stealing. I don't know why, but my body won't do it. My body will react and I'll start shaking and I probably won't be able to talk in fear. And that's the same thing, is when we decide we want to do something, if you're programmed not to do it and you go to do it, your body's going to react and freeze, or it's going to do whatever your body's going to do. Everybody's different.
Absolutely. And this program, absolutely. And this program that Fran's talking about is really nothing but what we've started experiencing since the moment we came out of the womb. All right.
Exactly.
Right. And all these beliefs that were instilled in us from our first gods, which is to say our mother and father. All right. If we're fortunate. Right. And then everything else. And these things that permeate us, and either they're going to serve us later in life or they're going to hinder us. But you got to decide what you want and what you're willing to do to get it.
And you brought up something else that we went through school. Think about going through school, and so here you are. You have a goal that you want to achieve, and let's say you want to start your own business. Let's just say you're sitting and you're thinking, you know what, I want to go to business for myself. But then you start picturing all these other people. You start looking at other people, but in your mind you see it a certain way. The problem is your imagination has been stifled all of your life. And so for you to imagine yourself in this place, we tend to do it in our dreams or when we're by ourselves, but we don't think it's possible. And that actually happened from when you were in school. Because if you remember, you were told to always sit still. right? Stop daydreaming, pay attention. But meanwhile, our imagination was fighting us, and it was naturally taking you to these ideas and thoughts and visions that you wanted to achieve. But there was always somebody there saying, stop it. You're distracting. Why are you so distracted? But that was your natural ability to create. So here we go through how many years of school, for the average person, 12 years of somebody telling you to sit still, stop it, pay attention, that you've pushed your imagination down. So now you're an adult. Again, you're programmed not to imagine. And now you're sitting in there and you're trying to imagine yourself in a different place. So first you have to wake up that imagination again. You have to realize that it's there, and what you're dreaming and what's trying to pop out, that seed is trying to get out, that's real. You have to just learn to let it come out and nurture it, because that's what it's trying to do. You're awakening it.
Absolutely. Consider this. Albert Einstein, widely considered to be the greatest scientist of modern times or ever, guy who knew a lot, to say the least, right? He said, knowledge is less important than imagination. That's what he's the number one guy, number one brain of humans. He said knowledge is less important than imagination, to give you an idea of what Fran is saying.
I did the same thing. I wanted to start my own business, and I was terrified. And I was in the corporate world for 20 years. I had 6-figure income. I was like corner office. I did it all. And I wanted to have my own business. But how do you walk away from that? I couldn't see it. And then once I started seeing it, I started planning it. And
I'm blessed. I'm blessed because my problem is I spend too much time in my imagination, because action is the thing. But however, imagination is the thing that makes it, opens the door to the action.
That opens the door.
Which is necessary.
Yeah.
But I spend too much time, and I love it because, I'm a planner, I'm a visionary.
Oh, it feels great.
But you gotta do the work.
And that's the so I have a system, and again, going to the movies, which is my favorite. So, my lights, I do lights, camera, action in my book. I do it in my course. I always say lights is you first understanding that awakening of your mind, understanding how your mind works and why you do what you do and why you can't do what you want to do.
I love it.
Yeah, sorry.
Coincidentally, I was just watching a video. I watch YouTube is my favorite TV channel.
Yeah.
On a film production just before this interview, because I'm also in production as well. But I love it. I love what you're all about, Fran. Yeah. This is great stuff. Let's take a moment to hear from our sponsor, and we'll come right back with Fran Banting.
This episode of Self-Help Coaching is brought to you by Proficio. When people learn something, they want to use it so it has real value. And the best teacher is experience. Visit www.proficio.io. That's PERFICIO.io, where Proficio will have you taking action with what you're learning immediately. You'll be closer to your goals before you even realize it.
You're listening to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast with me, your host, Tony Petroza. We're having a wonderful conversation with Fran Banting. I'm just loving it. Okay, we just talked about mindset and well, we alluded to her book, and I want to get more into it. But let's go in, before we go there, let's stop at metaphysics, okay? Because I know that's part of your expertise. So let's define it. What is metaphysics?
Well, metaphysics it's a branch of philosophy, and it looks at the relationship between mind and matter, because your mind is that intangible force. It's not something you can see or feel. So metaphysics is more the study of that intangible part of the mind that you can't see. So that's basically what it is.
Absolutely. I love to tell people they think that their brain is in charge of them. I'm like,
no.
The brain is the thing that keeps you alive. That's
right.
In your skull. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Your mind is what's in charge. And
right.
then they often say, well, if they know a little bit about psychology, or even they think they do, oh, but my subconscious mind. I go, listen, the subconscious mind is your army, but you're the general. Okay, you are the general. What do you want your army to do? What do you want it to conquer? You're the one calling the shots. Okay. Get your subconscious army, if you will, in shape, and they're going to do what you want. You got to just have to bring things into consciousness in order to do that.
I was in a seminar once and we were talking about the mind, and this man was just devastated. Like, he stood up at the table and he was like, "What's happening here?" He said, "I'm a brain surgeon and nobody has ever taught me this before."
I love it.
Yeah, so that's proof right there that he never associated the mind separate from the brain. So
Now, how do you, of course I concur, how do you incorporate metaphysics or even philosophy into your coaching or your programs?
Well, the first thing I do is I take the woo-woo out of metaphysics. I'm not one of those I don't even know how to explain it. It's not this magical thing that's just going to appear. It's
going to have a reasonable degree of science.
You have to understand that you are the instigator. You cannot just put it out there. And I know even the movie The Secret, a few people missed the point.
Yes.
You do have to do the work, and it's most important understanding how your mind works, deciding what it is you want, and then using it as your control station to get what you want. And as soon as you understand that your mind is not just here, it's in every cell of your body. And when you start activating the mind, you activate your body. When you think about something, if you're going to think about something negative, you start slumping, you're dragging yourself, your whole body starts reacting. But as soon as you're happy, your shoulders are back, your head's high, your whole, every cell changes. So that's proof that your mind is in control.
Absolutely. Now, I'm a practitioner of NLP, neuro linguistic programming. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. So, and quite simply, NLP, there's psychology is the study of how, what we think or what we don't think. NLP is a study, a form of psychology of how we think, and how we think is critical.
Yes.
Right. And you just talked about the physiology, mind connection, and that's actually the easiest way to change a feeling is changing your posture.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. And people just don't understand that it is in every cell. Every single cell is your mind. So when you start thinking that way, you start seeing things just a bit differently.
I'm gonna. This is so perfect for you, Fran. So I was an actor, and I used to be involved in production, and that's one of my biggest motives to be successful as an entrepreneur in Auxilium and Proficio, which is my revolutionary self-help app, and to get back into filmmaking and become a serious filmmaker and to be successful at that. Okay, enough of that. One of the movies that I have fleshed out is about, I don't want to say too much. It's about, the zombie genre has been used for a long time now. It's related to that. And I'm going to say there a cure exists. It's very rare in these movies that there's a cure to this terrible affliction, these plagues, which, just make people into monsters. In my movie, there is a cure, but it's not a physical medicine. It's by changing your mind, renouncing all your fears and negativity. And by doing this cleansing, if you will, this purification, that's the only way to cure yourself of this terrible virus. Because why? Because at a cellular level, your whole body is infected. And by changing your mind, deciding to be fearless or to be courageous in the face of fear, every cell knows the deal.
You're absolutely right.
That's what goes on in my movie. Now, I love what people go, no way, we're going to see, we want to see Pfizer.
No,
you're not getting that.
True.
It's in the mind, people.
It is, and it's so funny. If you look up zombie, I remember when I was doing a course on the conscious mind, and if you look up when they talk about the word zombie, it is actually people functioning without their conscious mind. So you're right there. You've got the story right. Yeah, so you hit it.
I love it. Can you talk a little bit about your book? Tell me a little bit about your book.
Well, it's funny, all of my coaching, whenever I coach somebody, it's so easy to find a character in a movie that you can relate with. And I find that a lot of my clients relate to Luke Skywalker. And I was always using the analogy, and I'd tell them, okay, I'd use Luke and I'd walk them through the process of making a movie. So when I wrote that book, I actually wrote it for my clients. I thought maybe this will help them if they read the book first. They'll be able to picture in their minds from start to finish, sort of like a movie trailer of their goal. And they sort of make this mind movie in their head, but it's a step by step. And that's how it started. And I remember I was with Bob Proctor, who it's been 1 year now that he's passed away, and I miss him dearly. But he said to me, I was telling him I was thinking of writing a book. And he said, okay, I was with him. I was in Toronto, and he said, okay, when you go home this weekend, I want you to start the book. And he said, if you finish it, I'll write, a nice, I'll read it and write a little note for you. I was like, I'm not writing a book. I don't know how to write a book. And there's my wall, stilettos. And he said, no, Fran, you're going to write this book. Now, so I decided, go big, I'm going to write a best-selling book. And then as I was writing, I decided I'm going to self-publish, I'm going to do Amazon. And then I discovered that the way people are getting best-selling books is by putting yourself in a category that nobody else goes in. And then people only have to buy 10 of your books, and you'll be the bestseller in that category. And I thought, well, I don't want to do that. What's the most popular category?
Right.
And it was self-help. And I thought, whoa, okay, I'll put it in self-help. So I did it with a different intention. My goal, and again, my mind movie, because one of my idols is Stedman Graham, who is the partner of Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, yeah.
Love Stedman. I've been following him for years. And in fact, anybody who knows me, I always say Oprah's famous because of Stedman. I mean, if you had that guy in your bed, this guy is probably talking to her at night, telling her, imagine Stedman. He's amazing. And if you don't know who he is, check him out.
I've heard of him, but I don't know about his reputation though.
Oh, he's amazing. He's just, and I remember seeing him on Larry King about 20 years ago or something. And I thought, who is this guy? And since then he was my favorite. So my vision was always to talk to Stedman, that he would have read my book. And that's how I ended up writing my book. I had this dream that Stedman would critique me and my book. So I put my book out, and we launched in 2015. And I don't know what happened. The most biggest category I could go in. And the book just started going up. And I think 3 or 4 days later, there I am on the top 6. And I was like, who is this person? And then I realized it was Oprah Winfrey. And I started laughing because I said, see, I was attracting Stedman, but I got Oprah.
Came close.
So, I did it authentically. I tried to do everything authentically. And I tell you, that was I was tickled pink that the book made it that far. But it started just as a brochure type thing for my clients. It turned out to be a lot of fun.
And all it takes is the beginning. Of course, the follow through is required.
Bob.
But nothing happens until the beginning starts.
Yeah,
right?
It all starts. And Bob, Bob made me see something I couldn't see. And he helped me see it. I saw it and I ran with it.
And that is one of the, not to mitigate the value, the social value, because it's almost countless, what we give to others and what we need from them. But other people can see in us what we can't see. And that is, practically indispensable.
Yes. And when you have somebody in your court to light that fire, it's priceless. It's priceless.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Let's take a moment to hear from our sponsor. We'll come right back with our continuing conversation with Fran.
This episode of Self-Help Coaching is brought to you by Perficio. People value all sorts of things, but Benjamin Franklin teaches us that the most valuable thing we have is time. With it, we can have practically anything. Visit www.perficio.io. That's PERFICIO.io, where you can truly learn how to value time and have that instilled in you so that you can best use time to work for you.
You're listening to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast with me, your host, Tony Petroza. The conversation that I'm having with Fran Banting is really so titillating. I think it's very valuable. It's definitely quite valuable. There's no question about that. But I think it's also very entertaining. I hope I'm right. Well, the audience will let me know. And if they're going to be negative, then screw them. Okay, of course I'm kidding, I'm teasing, but that's my segue to my next question to Fran. Okay, now Fran has talked about being a best-selling author and her mindset and part of her protocol. So straight out, is there one piece of advice you could share with people? What would it be? Just the one piece, though. So it was just one thing, Fran. And then don't say put sunscreen on. That song was written long ago. You ever hear that in the song? The final advice is just wear the sunscreen. It was so much advice to young people. And because if I can give you one piece of advice, just wear sunscreen. All right, the joke missed. Keep going. Sorry about that.
Well, I'm going to say what I tell every single one of my clients is there's nothing wrong with you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. If anything, you've been telling yourself all this time that you can't do something because of, or because this happened to you, or because I am. No, there's nothing wrong. You may be coping with something and you may be carrying something, but there's nothing wrong with you. You were given things throughout your life and you coped a certain way, and you're an adult now, and it's time to get in the driver's seat and just start moving a different direction. But there's nothing wrong with you.
Absolutely. All right. We have all the resources we need within. And if we need outer resources, and you're almost certainly going to need them, then go get them. Go get them. And if one of those external resources is to help you tap into your internal resources to maintain its function and its value to your pursuit, then do that too. All right.
That's so important. And that shows you the people that go out and find the help are the ones that understand their self-worth. They finally say, I'm worth this. You only have one life. You get one go around. Are you going to sit there and let other people tell you where to go and what to do? Or do you want to finally just say, you know what? I'm going to start driving this car and get in the driver's seat. And so you start by deciding what help do you need? And even the best leaders have coaches, they have advisors, they hire people to manage them, help manage their businesses, because they know that you can't do it alone. And the parts, whenever there's an obstacle, you get help, move it out of the way. Next obstacle, get help, move it out of the way. You want to make your clear path to whatever it is you're trying to achieve.
Now I'm going to self-promote here, but it's completely applicable. So I created this virtual coaching program called Proficio, which is going to transform self-help. It's a revolutionary self-help app, and it makes self-help work. Now I love self-help, but if self-help worked, Fran, I would have been a millionaire a long time ago. I'm still not even close. Okay. All right. So why? It's because every person is the slogan of this podcast is that we're all responsible for ourselves and we could all use a little help. And that's what Proficio is. It's that little help. You're talking about a coach or a mentor. And I absolutely agree.
Anything, get the help you need.
I created an app that's totally customized. It has to be completely customized to the individual, because that one size fits all crap don't work. We are all individuals. That is that little thing that helps a person keep going, because in NLP, do you practice NLP at all?
No.
NLP,
my friends do.
NLP, one of our presuppositions is that there is no failure, there is only feedback. No, I believe that. I buy into that. However, I will say that there is one failure that is failure, and that is the terminal failure. Because once you either decide to quit or stop trying and never try again, then that's the terminal failure, and it's over, and you're out of the game. Right? And and my app doesn't let you do that in the most customized way, in the most intuitive way, and that's just to keep going. Because as we said at the outset of this podcast, persistence is the key to success. Of course, the other side of that coin is learning, but I don't want to. For this argument or this statement, I don't need to go there, but we must persist, and we must put into practice the things that we want, that pursue what our goal. Because no amount of wishing, no amount of meditation is going to do it. That's great stuff. But you and I talked about this, belief, great stuff. It makes it possible. But only the motion of the body is going to make it happen. That's it. Nothing else.
If I could touch on that,
Please.
An app is great, but I got to push the button. I got to download it. And, we do it. We're like, another app. And, I got to open it and I got to look at it. And it's going to make me do this. And you can almost see it happening. I mean, we do that every single day. It's like, do I really want to do this?
Right.
But if you understand that there's two ways to change that, to take yourself out of that programming of not doing something. And there's only two ways to change that. And one is a shock to the system. And if you think about that, think about a shock that you had in your life. Maybe you never worked and you couldn't find a job, but then bam, there was a death in the family. Or, you had a physical injury and something happened to you that was so drastic. It literally shocked you. And it was like a lightning bolt going into your body. And you came out of that a different person. You were like, you know what? I got to step up now. I'm in charge, or I have to do this. And when you think about that, how did that happen? You were always the same person. Right. The only thing that changed was this shock.
Right.
Well, a lot of us don't, thank goodness, don't have those, and because they're usually a negative shock. Yep. And we don't have those in our lives. But it does make you a different person, and you become, bigger, better, or whatever, but you do what you have to do. But if you don't have that shock, how else are you going to do it? And so the only other way is through repetition. Right. And you repeat something every single day until your mind takes it over as a habit. Yep. And then you start doing it. So I'm just going to go to starting your own business. The first time you say it, you're going to go, I'm the owner of my own business and I'm a multimillionaire, whatever your goal is. I own my own company. And you kind of laugh it off. And the second day you say it, it's, silly, and you just keep saying it and saying it and saying it till finally, which is usually, as we know, habits take just over a month, your mind starts accepting it, and it's going to start thinking it without you having to prompt it. And you're going to start walking and acting like a business owner. And, think about the shower. You go in the shower every day, you have your shower. Do you think about your shower? Do you say, now I have to put the shampoo in my hair, and now I have to grab the bar of soap? You don't. You're thinking about what you're going to do today. You're thinking about, your plans for the day, what you're doing tonight, but somehow you have your shower. I mean, there's days I drive to work and I'm like, how did I get here? I don't remember driving here, because I was listening to podcasts, or I'm listening to music. But the programming of doing something every single day eventually takes over, and I don't have to think about it anymore. So those are the only two ways you can change your programming: is the shock to the system, which is a negative way to do it, and hopefully you don't have to grow that way. And another one is for you to program it through repetition. And a repetition of an idea is usually how you start moving towards any goal.
Absolutely. And there's nothing like an actual person to keep you on track. However, because they are conscious, and they can give you expert feedback, and you have some accountability, and those are very important elements. However, that if a person is not up to that, then that will actually they'll turn those elements, which are elements of success, into the obstacles to it. Right.
That's true, isn't it?
And this is believe me, this is not lost on me. This is part of why I created Profissio, because it eliminates that. Okay. So I'm ahead of the game, and my app is launched, we're finally launching this month.
Oh,
Fran,
perfect.
I've been at this over 8 years, 4 years of pre-development, 4 years of development. We've basically undercapitalized, that and other challenges. I never gave up, primarily because nothing I ever did was so promising, but that's not the only reason. But this is going to transform self-help and therefore the world. And because of what I just said, and a lot more. But coaches, human coaches, as valuable as we are, and because of that and other reasons, we're not cheap, and we shouldn't be cheap because of that value, right? And that's why Proficio is another reason why it'd be so great, because it's far more affordable than a human coach. Now, you don't get as great a coach as a human coach, but a human coach costs. Like I said, this is just a little computer program. This is cheap.
Well, I kind of have an argument there because.
Please.
Yeah, first of all, define what is expensive, because I know people that if their car broke down today,
it's all relative.
They go buy a new car tomorrow, and they'll buy a $50,000 vehicle. Yet they won't spend a few $1,000s on changing something about themselves that will make them more, help them be more successful in life and get more out of life. So
well, I was being relative.
I understand what you're saying, because the first thought in people's minds is you're paying for something that isn't tangible. And again, that's the metaphysical part. It's how do I pay for something I'm not seeing? And that's the problem.
I say it this way, Fran. If you are not living the life you want and not actively pursuing it, then you need either a coach, an accountability partner, or now Proficio, which is the world's first self-help coach. But you need something that you're missing.
You're missing something.
Right, and this is the external resource that we talked about.
Absolutely true. And self-help has, even the name self-help kind of is getting a bad name. But like I said, if you look at any successful person, I worked with a multi-million-dollar real estate broker, and every week he was on the call with his coach, and he never missed a call because he knew that that's what kept him going, because the coach would help him see things he couldn't see. And that's why you're doing it. You have to decide, what kind of life do you want to live? And I always say that you're an original production. You're a classic. You deserve to be, in the marquee. And how do you get there? And it's more simple than people think. It is so simple.
It's so, in the coaching field has been growing. It grows every year ever since it started really officially in the 90s. It's often lumped into self-help, but there is commonality. I contend that self-help is by the self. Personal development can be by the self, or it can be with an expert like a coach or an author. Yeah. But I like to sometimes refer to NLP's rock star, Tony Robbins, whom a lot of people are familiar with. He's NLP's rock star. That guy, he also, that guy he's an icon to me. He wears many hats, has done many things, has many companies, but he's also a coach. He actually he has clients that he works as a coach. It costs $1 million to hire him.
But people pay him.
So that gives you an idea, the value of a coach for those who can afford it. $1 million to hire Tony Robbins to be a coach. All right. So I don't think Fran's that expensive. Maybe it's close, but that's the value, people. That's the value. You need someone in your corner, and to see things that you don't see. I contend that probably the greatest value. When I worked as a life coach and I helped people get breakthroughs and get them to go from dysfunctional to functional. I was elated. Sometimes I was almost drooling with ecstasy on the experience that I was getting as a witness.
That's exactly it. I would get fulfillment. It's like you get goosebumps when you finally see them realize something, and they're like, "What?" And you didn't even tell them; they found it out themselves, or because you don't know what's inside them. And they experience it, and it's amazing when it happens. It's amazing thing to watch people transform. It is.
It's basically a universal quality, a trait to help others. It's a wonderful human trait. I think it's probably the greatest human trait. Is that we want to help people naturally, unless you have some sort of pathology or something wrong. Which is quite odd, right? Yeah. But to get paid to do it is what's better than that? What's better than that? And you form your own expertise, your own sort of program, so you become an expert in this field or a leader in this field. What's better than that?
Find your angle and you just work your angle, and it's great. Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%.
All right, now Fran and I are winking at each other because we love what we do. We love this field. We love our business. When they say, do what you love and you're not working. Well, there's a lot to be said about that. And it's very redeeming, as you just alluded to. And it's great. And that's part of the reason why I love Proficio, because I think I'm going to change the world because I'm going to make self-help finally work. But think about all the great things. Well, think about all the clients you've helped and all the great things they're doing. And I can say that about me. But now with Proficio, which is going to work, was going to be a mass scale, scope
Wow.
up, right? Millions of
That's
people.
a lot of work. You put
Right.
a lot
It's
of
going to
work
be
into that.
it's going to be all automated and computerized. That's the beauty
That's
of it.
amazing. That's
Right?
amazing.
It's totally customized. It's going to transform self-help. And now, all the great stuff that those people do, that's going to change the world. So yeah, those people change, which is,
Absolutely.
a lot of people want to change the world, but they forget that the most important thing is to change yourself. That's the best way to change the world.
Yeah.
But now when you do great things in the world, I mean, things that are really great, not just that are testament to your ego, man, then the world really
it feels good when you start seeing that somehow you were that little light under the fire, that lighting the fire for that person. That's so rewarding. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, this is our final break, and then we're going to come back with the unfortunate last segment with Fran Banting.
This episode of Self-Help Coaching is brought to you by Perficio. Perficio learns more about you as you make progress and then uses that information to help you even more. It is quasi-AI. Visit www.perficio.io. That's PERFICIO.io, where you can be helped by something that learns more about you, because that is the difference that makes the difference.
You're listening to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast with me, your host, Tony Petroza. This conversation, this interview with Fran Banting has been so wonderful. Really, I think there have been some enlightening things, quite frankly. And what you do, your whole approach, I mean, both using metaphysics, but the part about making your own movie. I mean, as I said, it really resonates with me, but I think that this is a very accessible concept because anyone who's seen a movie can access it. All right. And incorporate that into their own lives for success. You see, I did it for myself because I had the wherewithal to do it, but you articulated it in the form of a book that any person can utilize and access.
That's right. Yeah, it's one thing to say, play in your mind every day and repeat what it is you want. But what if I can't make that image in my mind, which is what a lot of people can't do. They cannot see themselves, like I said, because of their imagination. And so I thought, well, what if I walk them through it step by step by step? And that's what I did. And I did. And just like you, I love the film industry. I actually have quite extensive background in film as well. I'm actually more in the editing side of things.
Now you finally admit to it.
So I love movies and I love the classic movies. And so I've been studying film since I was like 15. Fantastic. And to me, it makes sense because when you go to a movie, if you think about what happens when you go to a movie, you're letting go of your true self. And you're being taken away into an imaginary place. And you don't even have to think. Your conscious mind is totally handed over to this movie. So I thought, well, what if your goal or your vision, we made it like the trailer of a movie so that you could just picture that in your mind over and over and over again. And so I did that in 3 parts because your movie. You know what you figured out what you want. Let's say I want to start my own business. But what does that look like? I can't even see myself doing that. Well, it could be you walking in the doors and you're waving to your staff, or you're stepping out on a stage, or you're driving in a car somewhere to your office and it's this high-rise building. What are you seeing? And what are you doing in that movie? And you picture all these little clips, and that's your mind movie. So how do you create that movie? So I did it in the 3 steps. I did my lights, camera, action, which is in lights. I first teach you about thinking and how you have to start thinking a certain way. And we start envisioning what it is you want. And then we move on to camera. And now you're actually the person in the movie or you're the director, and you're looking through the viewfinder. What are you seeing? And I help people walk through seeing, but I do it in the same way as if you're making a movie. And then finally, action is we put it all Now that you've selected everything, you've got what it looks like. Now we start putting that movie together so that you can make it happen. And I think it's an easy read. I did it in a fun way, the same way I talk to my clients. I basically talked as if I was talking to you in the room. And a lot of people find it fun. I've had people say that it's, one of the best analogies for the law of attraction. And I thought, oh, I didn't intend to go that far, but cool, I'll take it. But it helps you.
Proctor must have loved that.
He did, and what a sweetheart. He did do. He's on the back of my book with a little snippet there from him, and I was so grateful for him. And I call the book my baby because it took me 9 months to write and publish. But that's because Bob made me see something I didn't think was possible, but he made it so matter of fact. Just write a book.
Fantastic.
My whole body just froze. What do you mean a book? But it worked, and it was a lot of fun. And I may do another one day, but we'll see.
We'll see. When we first began communicating a year and a half ago, you said to me, or about me, you said, "Oh, you're a fellow coach teaching the Napoleon Hill strategies," which I do because you and I obviously revere Hill. And those who don't know, Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, which is a tome of self-help.
Absolutely.
In the 1920s, he wrote that 100 years ago. And those strategies will be everlasting because they're just principles of success. And he's not limited to just what you can see. He's open to such metaphysics as being both a transmitter and an antenna of success, which is to say that you put the walls down, okay, and you resonate in the right frequency, but there's never mitigating or excusing the necessary work. That's what a lot of people mistake with The Secret. Oh yeah, just got to think about it.
It's magic. Yeah.
But guess what? You can't do stuff that's counter to the wanted thought. Okay, so all the thoughts that are counter to that, they got to go, and you got to take the work. You got to do the work. And if you do action that's counter to the thought, then that also will prevent.
You'll negate it. And that's why it's so important to understand your mind before you start doing this, because you have to recognize even when you're doing the work, why it's not working. Mm-hmm. And until you understand that, you could there's people that do affirmations every day. I do my affirmations every day and nothing's happening. I've been doing them for a year and I'm like, well, you're not following the process. I can tell you right now, it's you can say your affirmations all you want. Are they the right affirmation? And are you saying them correctly? There's so much detail to this. Absolutely. And you absolutely have to know the process. And so the affirmations do work if you know what you're doing. Absolutely.
And so continuing, you said back then that you thought we would make a good fit, and I absolutely concur because and now we're at the end of the interview, and I knew we would go longer than usual because I knew it would be such a great conversation, and certainly it has been. And I know that you said that you had a course that you launched in 2020, and you often do splits with podcast hosts. But that's on the business end that us podcast hosts do. And guess what, Fran? I don't want to do that because I want you see, first of all, we're at the end. I know that you have a free gift to the audience, and that's a free consultation. They can get a hold of you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
They can get a hold of you at your website, which is dreampath.ca.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not .com. She's a Canadian. They just got electricity up there. It's .ca, not .com.
Yeah.
Dreampath.ca. And you can have a free consultation with Fran. And of course, you can be anywhere in the world and be her coaching client. But you talked about offering a discount to your course. Part of my business model is that I'm going to transform self-help. We have a pilot course, home study course, which is by Benjamin Franklin, The Way to Wealth, a financial one. But I don't want it. I'm not interested in making having my courses on Proficio. I made Proficio for the whole world of self-help. So once we do the upgrade, we're going to get everybody. We're going to have thousands and thousands of courses on there. So I want Fran Banting's course on there. And when I have that on there, all your students will get every single thing that you claimed as the author to have it, because that's exactly why I designed Proficio, and that's exactly what Proficio does.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's true. It's the best. You want the best for people, and you want people to know what you know, and you want to share.
That's it. That's
You're
it.
shouting it to the world.
That's it. I'm making a proxy to you who's like you. So does that interest you? I usually talk to people about that after the show, but since I saw everything on this, I'm doing it live. I've never done this before.
We're on it. Yeah, I'm there.
This has happened live. Because obviously nothing's written in stone, but down the road, Fran is going to be my content partner, because that's where it's at. I created Proficio specifically with the win-win-win plan. Win for me, right, as the business owner, win for my content partner, not my customer, Fran Banting, that's down the road, but win from who most of all? Her student, who's going to get everything that Fran Banting offers them, not just in the course, but also the most important part is that you can, if you learned everything that Fran Banting had to teach you in her book or her program or whatever, that's great. But until and unless you use it, you might as well not even know it. You've got to use it. That's where the real power is. The application, as you said, repeated activity until it's a habit. That's where the power is. That's where the reality is. Okay, and that's what Proficio does. So down the road, we will be talking about that, Fran.
I can't wait.
I've never done that before. You are my first with that.
I can't wait.
I have never said that. Every time it's been afterwards. But I saw that I could do that with you, and it went very well. So
I see us as bookends. You're on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast.
I love it. I love the two Italians. Fantastic. So great. I look forward to that. That's down the road, and we'll talk about that later. This has been a wonderful, wonderful interview. It's been such a pleasure for me. I thank you so much for coming on. Do you have any final words for the audience, Fran?
No, I I want to tell people to just know that no matter how you're feeling, there's always a way up, and all you have to do is just change the way you're thinking, and know that you have this ability, because we all do. As long as you have a mind, you can make it do anything you want. So you just have to make the decision to want it. And being here, listening to Tony is a start. That's the best way to start.
It's a good start. It's been a wonderful interview. I encourage any listener to go to Fran's website, dreampath.ca. We'll have a page set up for you on our podcast website. We have all your social media. You're on like 6 different platforms. You have your email. Do you want your phone number posted on your profile?
I think it's on my website somewhere.
Okay, great.
It's all there. Yeah,
I see it on my info, so it'll be there too.
It's all there.
Great. This has been a really excellent discussion and conversation, Fran. I really thank you very much for your time. And remember, everyone, we're all. This is a repeat because I said at the beginning, Fran brought it out of me. We're all responsible for ourselves, and we could all use a little help. With that, thanks for listening to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast, and thank you, Fran Banting.
You bet.
Thank you for tuning in to the Self-Help Coaching Podcast, where insights, attitudes, and methods for success get illuminated. Learn what leaders and change workers have done and are doing now to create magnificent futures. Remember to visit our website at self-helpcoaching.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Self-Help Coaching Podcast.